So there's one last budget that I'm going to do, and this is going to be my selling and administrative budget. And once I have this one, then I'm ready to put together my cash budget and my statements. Now, I'm going to also break this one down between variable and fixed costs. And in different questions, sometimes they'll lump all the variable together and all of the fixed together, or they'll name each account separately and give us the variable and fixed costs for those. Now, because these are period costs, we're going off of the budgeted sales with our variable costs, not the production. So if I go all the way up to my budgeted sales, I think that's the first schedule that we did. I'm going to grab the 20, the 50, and the 30. So just to remind you that when I'm looking at my variable selling and admin, it's based off of my budgeted sales, not my budgeted production. So let's see if they're listing all of my variable expenses separately or if we're just lumping them all together. So in part 9 it says, at Royal, variable selling and administrative expenses are 50 cents per unit sold. Fixed selling and administrative expenses are $70,000 per month. The fixed selling and administrative expense includes $10,000, which is depreciation, that is not cash. Okay, so we do have all the information here, and they are lumping them all together. So that variable rate is 50 cents. So I'll put that in here and then just drag that across. And now what we can do is multiply that out. And then that gives us our variable expense. So these ones will increase and decrease when our sales change. And then our fixed selling and admin won't increase or decrease. So it's going to stay at 70,000 regardless if I sell 1 unit or 100,000 units. So when I add these together, oh, and look, I just did the same thing on this one. So just be careful when we're doing our quarter totals to make sure that it's actually adding everything properly. So just with this quarter, you have to just put in a formula to add those 3 across. So my total expenses are the 70 plus the 10. And then we'll just drag that over. There we go. Now this is fine because this is going to feed into the income statement, but I also need to use this schedule for my cash budget. So I'm going to subtract out the depreciation, which was included in the 70,000. And just to remind you that depreciation is just an accountant's way of systematically moving the cost of the asset onto the income statement as we use it. But we actually didn't buy that asset until a period that was previous to the ones that I'm working on. So this one is 10,000. And let's fix this quarter total because I want it to add those 3 for me. So you'll find that you're not going to be perfect when you're trying to put your budget together or when you're working on different questions, and that's okay. I mean, it's easier to have all of our information in here. Oh, I'm just adding these two together. It's just easier to have all of our information in here, and then we'll be able to see where we went wrong. And usually it's just a small error like I've done with adding my quarters up. Or sometimes it's an assumption. Maybe you misunderstood what was being asked of you, and that's okay too. It's really easy to change, especially if you have everything linked together. Then you can just make the change and then everything else will be fixed. So here is our cash disbursements for selling and admin. We have our total expenses, which will feed into the income statement, and then we have our cash disbursements, which will feed onto our cash budget, which we're going to do next.